Ahem. Okay, today I'm going to share with you one of the best pieces of musical advice I've ever seen in any video ever. And it's from this John Scofield clip. And I'm going to link it in the description down below. And let's get into what he talks about and why it's important for guitarists. He basically talks about how when you're first starting to play guitar, position playing and just running scales in general is important. Definitely. He says you have to get into the chop side of playing. Like you have to get that in order first. But the most important thing that he said was to get away from that as soon as possible. Because, running up and down a scale very fast is not musical. And it's not really going to apply well to most musical situations. And I think in this video, I'm going to talk about stuff that you should practice that is applicable to musical situations. And yeah. Okay, the first thing you should really be practicing more than scales is learning songs. And when you play music, shocker, you're playing songs. Fun fact. So, like, for example, when it comes to jazz, there's so many valuable musical things to learn when you learn a tune. Usually, the melody has a lot of, musical content in it that you can use in your own solos. Like, for example, autumn, just a easy example, autumn leaves, ba-da-ba-ba, there's chord tones in that, and that's a valuable lesson in and of itself to play chord tones over a song. And you can also learn a lot of chord vocabulary when you learn a song. There's just so many facets to learning a standard that are way more valuable than running up scales for your entire existence. Another thing that's way more important than practicing scales is transcribing. Okay, why is transcribing important? One, it helps your ear. Two, you learn so much like good vocabulary and jazz language when you transcribe. And like personally, I've learned way more from transcribing, my favorite jazz musicians like Chet Baker, like Charlie Parker, or my favorite guitarists like Wes Montgomery, Grant Green too. There's just so much you learn from their musical phrases, and you can apply that to your own playing, and you can apply it way faster than just. Also, when you transcribe, a good jazz musician, like say for example Wes Montgomery, say I was to transcribe one of his licks, you start to realize when you transcribe that these guys, most of the time, were not thinking in scales. Like when Wes Montgomery plays a freaking cool phrase, he's not thinking like C major or something. He's thinking like a phrase or a motif, and he builds upon it in his solos, and that to me doesn't scream thinking scales. He was thinking motifs slash phrases slash like building a melodic solo. Next important thing to practice instead of scales are melodic patterns. And you might say, dude, aren't scales a melodic pattern? Yeah, they are, but they're a bad one. If you practice scales up and down a lot, you're good at practicing the interval of a second, and that it's just not very interesting. So what I'm talking about with melodic patterns is learning your intervals. I've been doing this a lot recently. I've been trying to exclusively practice scales in fourths and fifths, because that's it's a prettier sound when the interval is higher. It's more melodically interesting to me. Okay, let me show you some of the melodic patterns I was talking about. Like, this is mostly what I practice now when it comes to scales. So I'm going to show you thirds, fourths, and fifths, and I might screw up. And I'm not going to show tabs or any of that because you should know your notes on the fingerboard, buddy. Okay, thirds. Screwed up a little bit there, but that was expected. Okay, now fourths. These are fifths. I need to practice them, but yeah, that's the gist basically. Okay, that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. I definitely recommend watching that John Scofield video I talked about early on. If there's one thing you learned from this video, just, get comfortable with running scales up and down because that is important. But start playing music as soon as possible because running scales up and down is not music. And try to stop that as soon as possible. Thank you very much. Have a good day.